Well, it's August 21st, down here on the farm with Maddox, and we came down here for a couple different reasons. Back in, well, I think it was probably June, I planted the beans and got them in a little bit late with the weather forecast. I was down by myself, didn't get a ton of footage besides with my phone, but really, really dry and dusty. There'll be a late stand of beans and for late season, but could produce also in late November as well when it starts getting colder. Also got the 2 sets of 4 cutting links out on the farm, so I have 8 cameras out, just kind of updating everybody on where we're at. Got a couple bucks showing up. Tokyo did show up, so we'll hopefully he sticks around and he's right back in here, right where he was at last year. So hopefully get one of the boys on him early season with the bow. If not, we'll wait till the October hits and we'll try with the let the big boys try to get him. So stay with us. We'll head back, move this camera, and go check the beans and see how they look.
Well, today Matt Holfert and I are down at the farm and we're prepping some stands for this season. We're really excited for the upcoming season. We've got 5 or 6 deer that we really think hold a lot of potential. You never know from season to season if you can find those deer back or not, but we're hoping that we can. The first buck we'd like to tell you about is a buck we call Curly. Curly's just a plain 8-pointer. We think he's fully mature, an older deer. He's just not a really high scoring deer. And we've had, we've got several cam tracker pictures of him. Another buck we'd like to tell you about is a buck we call Heavy, and last year he was a big 5x6. We had quite a few pictures of him in daylight on our south end of the farm, and so we're hoping this year that we can find him back. I've got a shed of his from 2 years ago, and he's just a real heavy deer. So there's another buck I'd like to tell you about. We call him G3, and he's a really cool deer. He's really narrow, tall buck. We think he's either going to be 4 or 5 this year. We're not sure, so we'd like to get a look at him on the hoof. But anyway, he's a deer we're trying to find back, and he's a deer that we've got a couple encounters with. Matt Hofer had an encounter with him a couple years ago on the north end of the farm. So anyway, we'll see if this is a deer we can find back and hopefully be able to hunt this season.
Well, it's late afternoon and Matt and I just finished up. We got maybe 5 or 6 stand sets prepared. So I did quite a bit of hanging and repositioning of stands, and Matt cut a heck of a lot of shooting lanes, but we feel pretty confident going into this season. Youth season starts here in a couple weeks in Iowa. Matt and I are looking forward to getting out with our boys, and also bow season starts here before you know it. So we're looking forward to bringing you more content. Thanks so much for tuning in to Midwest Whitetail, Outreach Outdoors.
Hey guys, I'm Adam Reeder with Midwest Whitetail and Outreach Outdoors, and I just wanted to give a quick update on my summer and my fall plans. My roommate Tyler actually came out and helped me about 2 weeks ago till up the food plot, get it ready for seeds, and I got it planted the same day. Been waiting on rain and some germination so that I can go out and hit it with fertilizer once or twice. Yeah, I've been watching some bucks in the fields adjacent to the properties that I hunt. I've been seeing a lot of return buck from last year. I call him Short Stack. He was a short wide 8 as a 3.5-year-old, shaping up to be a really nice buck. He's a short wide 10, and I'm hoping that I can get an arrow in that one. And he's been running with another buck that I'm not sure if I recognize. He's a tall wide 8-point and just a really pretty buck, and I'm not sure if he's 3.5 or 4.5. I'd like to get some better trail camera photos of him so I can really age him better and get a better judgment. But other than that, things are looking up on the lease property. I'm going to be taking my youngest sister out on the youth hunt September 11th and 12th, and hopefully she can shoot her very first deer. I took my sister Naomi out, and she got her first archery deer last year, and now my youngest sister's the only one eligible for the youth hunt, so I'll be taking her out, and hopefully we can get her on her first deer this fall. And then September, I believe it's the 18th, is Michigan's early doe season. I'll probably head out with my bow and try and fill a doe tag. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to this upcoming deer season, and hopefully, Lord willing, it turns out as good as last. So yeah, I'm really excited to bring some new footage to the table and see how this season plays out.
What's up, everyone? Out here at the home farm today, just getting some mowing done on this little clover plot behind me. Just wanted to fill you in on the plans for this fall. Got a couple pictures of some nice deer using this food plot here. One I named Trip. He's a pretty cool looking non-typical. From the pictures, I think he's got like 15, 16 points, and I got his name from his brow tines. He's got triple brow tines on each side, and he's been frequently using this food plot and then using the main timber behind me here as well. And then the other deer that I've been watching is Ace. Ace is he's got like a mainframe 9, and then he's got a kicker off his left G2, gonna make him a 10. He's probably my main hit lister in front of Trip. He's a pretty good looking deer. I don't think we have any history with Ace at all, but like I said, just finishing up some mowing here, and wanted to let everybody know what the plans were for this year as well. Hoping to get a good set on this food plot. Think it's going to bring some pretty good early October, late October success, and maybe carry over some good luck into the rut.
Hey, it's Matt Thede with Outreach Outdoors Show, Midwest Whitetail. One of the things I think is really important, or probably a lot of dads are in my situation, is really learning how to set up a youth bow, and what do we do for practice that allows a kid to shoot successfully when a deer happens to walk in front of them. I think we've all gone through, as bow hunters, like target panic, buck fever, whatever in the stand, and we get really, really nervous. And sometimes that can be really compounding when it's a youth hunter who's excited just for their first deer in the woods. I don't want this to sound self-serving or prideful when I say this, but one of the things I was really excited about last year was when my kids were in the bow stand. And when they were in the bow stand, I noticed when they shot their 2 deer that when they drew back, they really held their draw, focused their pin, and didn't get super, super nervous from the standpoint that they released the arrow right away, that they really settled the pin and released the arrow the right way with correct form. And that was something I was really proud of. And that's what we practice in our basement over and over again. And so sometimes the kids want to get out and shoot outside and see how far they can shoot. But we spend a ton of time right now in the basement at 3 yards, just really focusing on correct form and mechanics and getting that done right. So I actually want to take some time and show you how we do that. So if you have a son or a daughter that really wants to get into bow hunting and you're kind of wondering what do you do to help them to be successful, I'm not sure this is like the tried and true way that all the professionals would recommend, but I can tell you this is what we have done just for the average dad out there and setting up a bow. And this is a big plug for the Hoyt Fire Shot, and not just saying that because we're sponsored by them, saying that from the standpoint of like super easy bow to set up, really adjustable, and really nice draw for the kids, and it does a really good job. So that is one bow that makes it really easy to set up for kids of all draw lengths and sizes and draw poundages as well. So we're gonna head to the basement. I'm actually gonna get my 2 boys. I'm gonna actually show you how to set up and adjust the draw length, because I have to adjust the draw length on my older son. And we're gonna go ahead and set up, and I'm gonna show you exactly what we do for starting. We went in my basement, and we'll take you down here in just a second, but I really wanted to come back up here because there's way more light out here in the garage. But my son drew back his bow, and you can see in the video that his arm is really, really bent. So it's a little bit short. And when he got back here, he was just a little far forward and he couldn't touch his nose to the string. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what that looks like to make these adjustments. The great part about this bow is you don't have to put it on a bow press. You simply just loosen these screws on the cams and you go ahead and make your adjustments. And so I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like right now. He's set for 25-inch draw right now. So let's go ahead and lengthen it out maybe like to 26 inches and start there. So there's the 25 inches. You can see the little tiny arrow that's pointing straight to the 25-inch mark, and we'll just loosen up those screws right there and go ahead and make the adjustments on both sides. So we're going to move that to 26. I'll go ahead and put the screws back in. And this takes about 1 minute to adjust about. So not too bad. And then we'll go ahead and try to have him draw back again. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and have Maddox draw back again and check his draw length again. Go ahead, buddy. So he should be able to get behind the jawbone and then just touch his nose to the string, and it looks like that's about perfect, isn't it, buddy? Arms relatively straight, got a little bit of room. All right, go ahead and let it down. All right, we're gonna go downstairs and then work on our sights and adjustments. Okay, so we're back down to my basement. This is the man room. This is the room my wife gave me when we first moved in, and if you're smart, you take whatever room they give you. So anyway, got the Reinhardt set up, got some deer heads behind us, and you can see that this area is shot up right here pretty well, and that's where the boys, the arrows stick really well there versus if they were shooting into a fresh piece of Reinhardt. One of the things that we're gonna do here is we just come down here, and this is kind of our room. They're gonna stand 3 yards back, and one of the first things that we're gonna do is Maddox is gonna stand there and he's gonna do what I call, not necessarily a blind draw, but really he's not focusing on anything to aim at besides just making sure that the arrow goes into the target. And so he's gonna draw back, and he's really just gonna focus on, I'm gonna lock my thumb around that thumb release. He likes to use a thumb release. And then he's just gonna start pushing with the front hand and slowly pulling with the back hand. And that pressure of that trigger going into his thumb is gonna cause it to go ahead and release. And it's gonna be what we call a surprise release. The same concept happens with the trigger release. And we wanna go ahead and lock that finger around the trigger once we get ready to shoot, and then slowly start pushing and pulling until we get what we call a surprise release. The biggest problem we see with kids, or even adults that for that matter, is we want to control when that goes off sometimes. So sometimes we punch that trigger and we get what we call target panic, and the arrow doesn't always go where we want it to go. The same thing with the thumb. If we punch it with the thumb, it releases and doesn't necessarily always go where we want to go, and it causes target panic. So Maddox, when he first started last year, he started doing that, and then once he found out what the surprise release was, it just really clicked for him. And for the most part, all kids, and they typically can learn at a young age, and it really helps them out. So we're gonna get Maddox back in here, and we're gonna go ahead and draw, and we're just gonna show you exactly what we do, and we'll get started and go from there. So here's our first step, and kind of the blind draw, surprise release form. All right, so Maddox is gonna go ahead and draw back. We got him to the correct draw length. He's gonna lock it behind his jaw. We're not gonna necessarily worry about aiming as much as that the arrow is gonna go in there, and he's just gonna lock his thumb around the trigger, and then slowly start pushing and pulling until it goes off. And you can see by replay that his hand really shot back once he released it. So why don't you grab the arrow and let's do it again, buddy. And we've shot this spot many times, so. All right, so we have Brooks in here, and he's now going to be using his finger release or trigger release, and so he's going to go ahead and do the same thing. So Brooks is going to go ahead and draw back, and then he's going to go ahead and lock his finger around the actual trigger once he's kind of on the target. And at that point, then he's just going to go ahead and lock his finger and slowly start pushing and pulling and go from there. So go ahead, Brooksy. And he's going to go ahead and make sure he's on the target. He's going to slowly lock his finger around once he's on the target, and then lock it. He's going to slowly start pulling, and boom, it really goes off in a surprise fashion. So go ahead and pull it out of there, and we'll go ahead and do it again. Okay, go ahead, pal. Making sure he's on the target. Slowly pull, 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 pull. All right. So once we've done that for maybe a week or so and shooting about 10 shots per night, then we go ahead and we have them start really burning a hole with their pin. And so what I do is I actually take the pin and get it sighted in, so that's going to make sure to hit where we want it to hit about 10 yards. And then we come back in here, and I've actually taken a little piece of, the boys like to use a little piece of like tin foil, and they like to put that exactly where they want to aim. And so we put that into a little hole above there, and then they aim for that piece, and then they should be hitting right into that center every single time. And so now the concept is, I understand what a surprise release is. I have a good correct form every single time. My dad's helping me out with the form. And then now what we can do is we want to go ahead and take that pin, look through the peep sight, burn a hole in that sight, or burn a hole in that little tinfoil piece right here, and burn a hole in it, and just start pushing and pulling as I'm burning a hole and trying to keep that on there and let it dance on that silver thing, and then boom, it'll go off. And then the arrow usually finds itself up in the dead center every single time. So sometimes what we've done is, if the hole's not this big, we'll take like a little Sharpie when I hit it. So I'll actually do it first, hit where I want to hit, take a Sharpie, and then we can kind of measure where the arrow hits from that Sharpie to see how accurate they were, and just make it a little game. So I'll bring the boys back in, and we'll do this next step and go from there. This time he's going to aim at the silver thing above. He's going to burn a hole in the target, and then he's going to put his thumb on it when he's ready, and then slowly burn a hole, and then squeeze till it goes off, and should have went right in the dead center. We'll go ahead and let Brooksy go next. All right, Brooks. And then slowly start squeeze. Okay, so we're out here, a little windy, but we're gonna drop back 5 yards from this target, and the boys are gonna go ahead and now put everything that they've done in the basement to use. So we probably spend a couple weeks in the basement before we go outside, and then now we just start working back. And so just for reference, for me last year, Brooks was 7 last year, and I told him he really couldn't shoot much more than 10 to 15 yards. So 15 was going to be absolute max, and I think he shot his deer at 12 yards. Maddox could probably go out to 20, and I think he ended up shooting his deer at 15 yards. And so I just found a trail that was really, the deer were just going to have to walk within about 10 yards, 10 to 12 yards, and that's how we did it. So that will be what we really go up to today. So we're going to go ahead and go back to 5 yards and let him shoot a couple times, and then go back to 10 yards and let him shoot a couple times, and just kind of see where we're at. Surprise release. Nice job. Awesome. So hey, just to recap a couple different things with getting the kids out and shooting bows successfully. So number one, it's super fun just to get your kids involved, all right? And the Hoyt Fire Shot is a great asset for us. It's super flexible in the sense that it took us about a minute to adjust the draw lengths on both cams, and it's easily adjustable poundage right here as well, just like any bow. And so great tool to get the kids involved and help them be successful. Second aspect of that is getting them the correct form in our 3-step process that we use at our household. It's not magical. It's not even taken from the pros online or YouTube. It's just what we do to have success. And so I think the easy part is number one, getting them with proper form to release an arrow so that they don't have target panic. And that is, don't have them focus on anything on the target other than that the arrow is going to go into the target, and get that surprise release down. No punching the trigger, but surprise release down. Second thing is add in a visual with their pin so that they can burn a hole in that target and really strengthen that lead arm so they can get that burn a hole, and then push, pull, and then surprise release into the target. And then the third thing is get them outside and start them at five steps, and then go ahead and start working back to 10 yards and then up to 15 yards if you can. So for my 12-year-old, 15 to 20 yards is going to be no problem. For my 8-year-old, it's going to be about 10 yards. And you can see from some of the results that this is our first time shooting outside in a while. So we've been sitting in the basement. We really need to work on our form and get them comfortable. And I always say if they can hit a pie plate if they can hit about a 6 to 8 inch circle at 10 to 15 yards consistently, then they're ready to go hunt. And that's the way they were last year. We have a little bit of practicing to do this year before we can actually get out, but season's right around the corner in a couple weeks. I hope this was helpful to dads. I hope this gives you a sense of, hey, yes, I think I can go out and do this. I have an idea now how to help my kids with bow hunting, and maybe some tools to help you with target panic if your son has target panic. But I really appreciate you watching. Hopefully it was helpful. Matt Thede with Outreach Outdoors Show, Midwest Whitetail.